Welcome to Deep Discussions Live and Learn podcast. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for supporting Deep Discussions' mission to deliver inspiration as a source of light in areas that appear dark. I'm your life skills coach and host, Walter Williams. Sorry, it's been a while since I've been away. Sometimes, as you all know and can all relate, life happens. A lot of things can keep you away from certain things that you plan to do. And I've been planning to be more intentional about being present and being on my platform. But it's been a lot going on, a lot of adjustments still, and a lot of things. And life is ever changing, and it's going to continue to change. But we have to make time and find ways to spare our energy towards things that we really want, and I just have to make a better effort to be more present, and I plan to. So, but one thing I never stop doing is learning and seeing what life has to teach me. So I'm here to teach you one of the messages that I picked up along the way, and this one is about the prophecy of jealousy. The poem that I wrote is entitled Jealous Prowler. Like a thorn in my side, I just can't break. It's a feeling in my nerves that I just can't shake. It's a fighter upon me, though I'm a class above. Being the bigger person is hard. I must put down the gloves. No matter how far I go, it's arrogance I can't escape. No matter how far I walk, it drags like excess weight. The higher I climb, the louder it screams, just asking me for one more round, though I've long left the scene. Temptation is its ally, begging on its behalf. I turn around and shut the door, knowing this isn't the last. We are all met with the contender or prospect of jealousy some way or another, whether we're on the receiving end or the giving end, for lack of a better term, of jealousy. I'm going to talk about both ends, but before I go into that, as I like to do, I'm going to share the definition of jealousy is the state of being hostile toward a contender or one believed to enjoy an advantage. So I thought this definition was very interesting. And what I usually like to do, even though I know the definition of certain words, it's interesting sometimes to just look up the definition of just to see how it expresses what that term means. And I thought this was very interesting when I looked it up. The first part where it says the state of being hostile toward a contender, that's usually like what we tend to look at, where we see it from both sides, where one, you can be the contender in this situation, or you could be the jealous party in this situation. So I would talk about it from both angles on that one. But then the second part where it says, or one believed to have an advantage, that one is really can be a bit dicey, I will say. That the reason I say that is because when it says one believed to have an advantage, a lot of the times what happens is someone has something that you want, and it could be either they got it a certain way that you didn't, they got it easier than you did, or they just have it and you want it. So I'm gonna dive into that one a little bit, but I'm gonna start on the first part where it says jealousy is the state of being hostile toward a contender. And I'm gonna talk about it again from both angles. So when things consume your energy and attention, other things take notice and become accessible. And sometimes those other things can be contenders. Now, when we think of jealousy, we think of one person being jealous of another, or we think of that jealous person that person being irritated by the jealous party. But what we don't take into account is how we, on both ends, consume our energy and attention, and how we allow certain things to become less accounted for in those situations. When we're dealing with someone being jealous of us, for example, sometimes, believe it or not, a lot of people out here thrive off of that and seek making others jealous. because it's that whole proving others wrong mindset. And sometimes you want, and although it takes a step further than the whole proving others wrong, because you don't just prove others wrong, you quote unquote take something that they want. And a lot of the times, there are people out here who want to do that because they feel even better that they got something. Not only, but then you have to ask yourself, do you really want it, or do you just want to make the person jealous? Because there are people out here that want to do that. But we'll be going down a whole nother rabbit hole if I continue to dive into that part. What I want to talk about is how we consume our energy and attention. When you allow those things to distract you, and this is the person that is receiving the jealous energy. When you allow those things to distract you, you start to become become motivated by the wrong things. And a lot of the times what it can lead to is it can lead to a decline in your production. It can lead to a lack of focus, and it can also lead to a loss of yourself, so to speak, because you get so consumed in what someone else is saying or doing, and you start to give into what that person is trying to do. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to tear you down or take you away from what you got because they want to get that. And that's what their energy is based upon. Their energy is based on trying to pull you away from what it is that you may have worked so hard for, or you may have deservingly got, and they want to somehow, some way get it out of your hands so they can get access to it. As for the person that is the jealous party, we could talk about this for probably for days, but when when you allow what someone else has to consume your energy, you lose sight of all of the things that life has to offer you, and it's a sign of low self-esteem and lack of confidence, because what you're saying is what this person possessed or got is the end all be all for you, and there's nothing else out there for you. For example, if you apply for an internal position and you see that someone else you used to work with got that position, or someone else within your company got that position, you shouldn't allow that person got that position to stop you from looking at other opportunities, or to make you think that there's nothing else out there for you. A lot of the times what that means is, though they may have seen that person as better for that position, that doesn't mean you can't be better somewhere else. Or that does not mean that other opportunities don't exist for you beyond that. And what happens is, again, you you show a lack of self-esteem in doing that. So the next point that I wanted to talk about, and this one can be a little bit more in involved, and that's balancing your energy, interest, and attention for the sake of not missing out on an opportunity is essential, but it can be a slippery slope. And what I mean by that is it kind of touches upon more a lot of what I said about consuming your energy and attention, because you have to balance your energy, but make sure you're going about things the right way. Are you going after an opportunity because of the whole prophecy of jealousy? Are you trying to make someone else jealous? Are you trying to not allow someone else to get that opportunity? Or are you just like, do you feel like someone else they don't deserve something? Because jealousy does not only mean that someone has something that you want, because the definition it says, or one believed to enjoy an advantage. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be, as the definition said before, a contender. It could just be someone believed to have an advantage. And it doesn't always have to involve you directly, which a lot of the times can cause a lot of unnecessary wear and tear on relationships, on self-esteem, confidence, and our energy, because you exhaust a lot of energy in something that serves you no benefit. You want other people to to not have to not enjoy nice things, because either you're not enjoying nice things or you just feel like that person don't deserve it. But who says that your standards have to be the same as someone else's standards? I know we live in this whole right is right and wrong is wrong society, but there is a different way of thinking about things, and perspective is key in a lot of these situations. So what you decide to invest your energy, interest, and attention in, make sure it's something that is beneficial to you directly and it's for the right reasons on top of that. Because why spend so much energy in being worried or irritated about someone having an advantage with something that you either don't have a need for, don't have a desire for, or really have no kind of connection with? But there are people out here who's like that because they worry more about the person than they do about the situation and what it can do to the overall area, the overall space, and the whole idea of what is taking place. Now, this one was major for me because this kind of like really resonated with me directly. When you're thriving, there's someone or something that's intruding, but you determine if they have a purpose, not them. And it's so funny, even though this isn't the example that I was thinking of, but this is funny. The other night when when my when my wife and I were talking about something, we talked about like how sometimes when you like the fact of the matter is our marriage is going great, has been great, and but oftentimes sometimes like when it in the earliest stages, I remember when an ex of mine was like hitting me up and seeing how I was doing, saying just randomly sending me messages, and you know even though she knew for a long time that I've been moved on. But that's what happens. A lot of the times when you show happiness, when you show content, satisfaction, you show that you're thriving, people want to somehow, some way be a part of that. Whether they want to be the reason that you experience a downfall, or they want to feel like they have some sort of um, involvement with your overall happiness and you thriving, and they want to be like, oh, I'm so happy for you, I'm so happy that you're this, I'm so happy that you're that. And a lot of the times, and it's a sad world that we live in, but half the time people say that with probably with a side eye, saying that they so happy for you, but they probably wish they were in your position. And again, it doesn't even always have to be people on top of that. What really stuck out to me when this happened is it seems like a lot of the times the prospect of advancement and growth had always been something that would like kind of intrude for me per se. And this is mainly like with my career. I would be I would feel so content with, you know, where I'm at, and I'm like, all right, I got this advancement, I got promoted, I moved up, whatever the case may be. But it'll always be that never satisfied type attitude. And it's okay to have a never satisfied attitude, but at the same time, don't have that never satisfied attitude so much that you start to have you start to feel resentful towards what it is that you had, towards where you got, and then you forget how far you've come. And I think that that's what prompted me to talk about this, because I got into a point where my job title that I have now was what I wanted since I got my bachelor's degree in 2010. So I got this position that I have now in 2021. So pretty much it was an 11-year span for me to get from when I first said I wanted this position to me receiving the position. But then I was so used to always wanting to get to that next step, I didn't know what it was. So I think that what happened with me was I was so used to wanting to move to that next level. I started questioning myself and saying, wait, am I, is something going on here? I should be looking for something here. I've been in this position for almost 2 years. And usually by then I know what my next move is or what I want my next move to be. And I kind of pulled something out the sky and just said, oh, I can see myself doing that. But jealousy does not only exist in a person, it can be existent in a circumstance. And though what I just shared with you may not sound like jealousy, sometimes we can be we can be jealous of ourselves or a prior edition of ourselves, a prior form of ourselves. I remember I was so ambitious. I was so ready to find what that next step is. But once I got to the position I was at, I kept asking my wife, I kept saying to my wife, why am I like, I'm so used to wanting the next position. I don't know what my next move would be. And I started questioning myself and doubting myself a little bit. And that sometimes can be the the pit or the tipping point of our downfall when we start questioning where we are and where we once were and why things don't marry up because we set a standard for ourselves. And a lot of times that's what jealousy is built upon. It's built on the standards that we set up for ourselves and what we expect of others. And sometimes that jealousy, the prophecy of jealousy can be a self-contained thing as well. Last point, what motivates you? If it's the prospect of someone else, then ask yourself, who's the jealous one? Aiming to prove others wrong is a product of jealousy. And I said this early at the top. When I learned this a very long time ago, and I can't remember what experience or event inspired it, but we must we must adopt the practice or the thought process of aiming to prove ourselves right instead of proving others wrong. I'm sure many of you have heard that before, but how many of you actually live by that? Sometimes proving others wrong, hearing people hate on us, doubt us, and all of that stuff fuels us to be better. But what about having that confidence in yourself first? Because sometimes people telling us we can't do something is that's not enough for everyone. But what should be enough for every single person is the amount of belief that you have in yourself. So what other people and what outside sources and forces to contribute to your situation should be minimal to how important it is what you have to contribute to your own situation. And now with that, we're going to segue over to spiritual relief, which today comes from James chapter 4, verse 2. You desire, but you do not have, so you kill. You covet, but you cannot get what you want, so you quarrel and fight. You do not have because you do not ask God. And I have 3 points or 4 points here that I wanted to discuss and what this verse said to me when I read it. Ask and wait on God for the desires of your heart, as He knows what's best, and He's the ultimate way maker. Allowing the possessions and blessings of someone else to influence your motives dismisses the work of God. Essentially, you give more credit to what God blessed someone else with instead of recognizing the source, and that is God. And instead of going to the source, who is God, of all blessings and gifts, you confront those who God appointed to be the teachers of His word. In doing this, you disrupt the spread of His gospel. If God did not make you a character in someone else's story, it is in your best interest to not disrupt His work. If God says it is not for you, then His word is final. So be the main character in the story that God wrote for you. Do not harp on or dwell on what God did for someone else, and in doing so, acknowledge who was the person that gave and gifted those blessings to people, and that is God. recognize that God was a was a blessing and blessed. I'm sorry, God blessed others and gave others those things that you desire, so He can do the same for you. Instead of worrying about how other people got things, what other people got, all of that stuff, acknowledge that God was the ultimate source for them and say, God, you can do that for me. I know so. And know that you're not going to get things the same way other people got it. Sometimes your story is told a little bit different. And take that as an opportunity to have a testimony and to be one of those people who teaches God's word to other people, maybe in a different way. It's always nice to have a different way to share how you got to where you got to. A lot of the times we live in this society nowadays, and I'm going to be quick with this because I want to get to my next segment. But we live in this society nowadays, and I had to tell myself this, where a lot of people want to say they came up from the bottom, they grew up poor, they grew up in the hood and the ghetto and all of that stuff. And and I had to remind myself over and over again that sure I had some struggles when I was young. There were some adverse and tough times in my childhood. But instead of, you know, instead of like trying to compare how tough I had it compared to how tough other people had it, I recognized how blessed I was compared to when I hear some of the things that other people went through. And that's what we fail to realize. We live in the flesh so much that we want to worry about how hard we have it, how easy other people have it. Instead of saying that, instead of recognizing that other people were blessed in their way and we were blessed in our way. God made us stronger as a result of our experiences. Sometimes God prepares us to be those storytellers, those those deliverers of His word, because you know the saying, God gives the toughest battles to His greatest soldiers, and that's what He does with all of us. He gives us He gives us the opportunity to share and deliver His word in a certain way that fits our image, that fits where He's going to place us in our story. So, in preparing you for where God eventually is going to place you in your story, embrace the journey that He gives you and embrace the way in which you receive the things that you receive. It's not about how other people got their things or didn't get their things in comparison to how you did or didn't get yours. It's about how God gave it to you all and what is going to be your story and what is going to be your testimony to the next person who God assigns to you to be the person that learns His word through you. Now we're going to segue over to the last segment of this episode, which is my top 5 segment, and this one is the top 5 jealousy quotes. These are 5 quotes that I found that I thought were very interesting and very enlightening, that I want to share with you, and I'll share the sources of each quote. The first one was an unknown source, unfortunately, but the quote says, "They want to see you do good, but never better than them. Remember that." I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that one. "Envy is thin because it bites, but it never eats." And that's quoted by Spanish Prover. Envy is thin because it bites, but never eats. So yeah, that's a very interesting one to say the least. This next one is quoted by Fulton J. Sheen, and it reads, "Jealousy is the tribute mediocrity pays to genius." So I kind of read that a little differently. So basically, what it's saying is mediocrity pays pays a tribute of jealousy to genius. That one was a little bit deep, but what it essentially is saying is when 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 you do when people are like have a mediocre performance, so to speak, or when you do okay with something, a lot of the times they're jealous of people who have like genius discoveries or genius performance or great performances. So mediocrity tends to be a tribute to that, or jealousy, I'm sorry, tends to be mediocrity's tribute. These last two that were really that really resonated with me. This one's quoted by Carrie Fisher, and it says, "Resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die." Whew, that one stuck to me because not it didn't stick to me like because like I was convicted by it, but it to me it captures the true essence of what jealousy is. Resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. Remember what I was saying earlier. A lot of the times we see someone doing so well, and sometimes instead of wanting what they have, we just want to see them fall apart or see things fall apart for them. And we're not even worried about getting what they have sometimes. We just hate to see them doing so well, hate to see them happy. And we feel like either we should be happy or we both should be on the same wavelength. And as last one, the jealous, the jealous are troublesome to others, but a torment to themselves. And that was quoted by William Penn. Again, the jealous are troublesome to others, but a torment to themselves. And it sounds very similar to what I just stated. We torment ourselves because we torment ourselves just by being a little bit of an irritant to others. No matter how bad you or how hard you want to make it for someone else who's doing great, you're not going to make yourself be any better or do just as good as they are doing. So if someone is up here and you're down here, that's not how I like to deliver things. But let's just say someone is doing great and you're not quite where you want to be at. Let's put it in that perspective. Do you think that like irritating them and being a pest to them is going to bring them down here and bring you up here? Like it's just going, jealousy, you're going to be troublesome and annoying, but the whole time you're torturing yourself. You're not doing yourself any justice or doing anything for yourself in that instant. So those are the top 5 quotes, or at least 5 quotes that I found interesting as it pertains to jealousy. Thanks again for your continued support of Deep Discussion. I continue to make an emphasis and make a greater effort to be more present on both social media, here on my podcast, and now I just recently got engaged and got involved with doing speaking engagements. So I'm looking forward to being a guest speaker at your event. If you're looking for a guest speaker, be sure to look up my profile and reach out to me through blackspeakersnetwork.com, or you can email me. My information is right there, beinspired@deepdiscussion.com. You can contact me via phone at 443-916-5009. And be sure to visit my website, deepdiscussion.org, if you're interested in learning more about Deep Discussion's life coaching services. I offer 3 types. I offer Vantage coaching, I offer goal-oriented coaching, and group coaching. So be sure to visit my website to learn more about each one. I also offer business advocacy and support services. So to learn more, if you're a business owner or entrepreneur and you're looking for some exposure, someone to help you get more looks, get more customers, more exposure, more viewers, and just someone to be an advertising partner with you, reach out to me and contact me. I would love to partner with you and help celebrate and recognize the great things that you're doing with whatever business that it is that you're doing, as long as it's legal, obviously. And lastly, like I just said, I do guest speaking engagements. So I just recently started doing that. So I look forward to connecting with you. And feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, my Life Skills Academy. Life Skills Academy is something that is very, very meaningful, and that I really hold true to my heart with my platform, because I feel like life skills are very critical to who and what we are to the world, and how we continue to thrive and seek to get better and better each day. So to learn more about my Life Skills Academy, I talk about and explain up to 40 different life skills in the areas of facing adversity, making decisions, and interacting with others. So if you're interested in that or interested in having me talk about that at any kind of event, at any kind of group discussion, be sure to reach out to me. Again, my number is 443-916-5009, and you can email me at beinspired@deepdiscussion.org, and be sure to visit my website to learn more. Thanks again for your continued support of Deep Discussion, delivering inspiration as a source of light in areas that appear dull. Take care.